Thank you. In trying to understand the energies, creative energies, it has occurred to me that I really do not understand why unusable heat is generated as our Earth moves from third into fourth density. I know it has to do with disharmony between the vibrations of third and fourth density, but why this would show up as a physical heating within the Earth is beyond me. Can you enlighten me on this? And Ra says, the concepts are somewhat difficult to penetrate in your language. However, we shall attempt to speak to the subject. If an entity is not in harmony with its circumstances, it feels a burning within. The temperature of the physical vehicle does not yet rise. Only the heat and the temper of the tears, as we may describe this disharmony. However, if an entity persists for a long period of your space-time in feeling this emotive heat in disharmony or end disharmony, the entire body complex will begin to resonate to this disharmony, and the disharmony will then show up as the cancer or other degenerative distortions from what you call health. When an entire planetary system of peoples and cultures repeatedly experiences disharmony on a great scale, the Earth under the feet of these entities shall begin to resonate with the disharmony. Due to the nature of the physical vehicle, disharmony shows up as a blockage of growth or an uncontrolled growth. Since the primary function of a mind-body-spirit complex is bodily complex is growth and maintenance. I'm just going to finish up what Ross says here. They say, in the case of your planet, the purpose of the planet is the maintenance of orbit and the proper location of orientation with regards to other cosmic influences. In order to have this occurring properly, the interior of your sphere is hot in your physical terms. Thus, instead of uncontrolled growth, you begin to experience uncontrolled heat and its expansive consequences. So, pretty deep answer here from Ra, because this is something referring to a conversation that Don and Ra had in the past, where Ra said that the friction, in essence, that we're having this, what do they called it? I forgot the phrase that they used, but it was something along the lines of the difficulties that we're seeing in terms of harvest, or as harvest approaches, the difficulty for harvest is what's causing all these planetary changes. This is one of the first questions that Don asked Ra in the beginning of the contact. And Ra said that this shows up as unused heat. I think they also talked about it in the later teen sessions, 18, 19 maybe, I forget. Maybe not. But I just remember that this is what they were talking about. This is the friction that we're seeing between the consciousness, the collective consciousness of the planet and the planet itself as it's moving physically, if you will, to the fourth density. And so Ra gives the analogy of the individual, of the mind-body-spirit complex. Actually, not the analogy, but the relationship that exists between the mind-body-spirit complex and the planet itself. So I would use the analogy myself of the cell, like our body cells, and how, say, if they are in disharmony for some reason, they break homeostasis and they simply break, or they start a transformation, then that is usually seen as a release of heat and the breakage of the cell somehow. It's a poor analogy, but the cell is to the body as we are to the planet, and as we are in this harmony, so is the planet. The planet reacts like us because we are the planet. And so this unused heat has to do with the friction, again, of our perception, our consciousness, in dissonance with the fourth density vibrations that are coming in. And And that's why they say that if an entity is not in harmony with its circumstances, it feels a burning within. This burning actually is not a physical temperature. That's what they say. It's not the physical vehicle feeling this rise in temperature, only the heat of the temper or the tears, the emotional heat. That is not actual heat, but you can feel the emotion, right? And that is a rise of a metaphysical heat, if you will. And so Ra says that if the entity persists for a long period of your space-time in feeling this emotive heat and disharmony, the entire body complex will begin to resonate to this disharmony. So this is the beginning of cancer, like they say. It'll show as the cancer or another degenerative distortions from what you call health. Cancer is an uncontrolled growth. That's what's happening. There's a manifestation of that disharmony in the tissue, and the tissue reflects that which is being generated by the emotions. So this is why some people get cured from cancer by simply changing their lives, their lifestyles, their direction in life, their will to live in some other way. Likewise, people who suddenly come up with cancer, and it is like my father, I think it's the best example. I've always used my father for this example. After my mother died, he had always been 68 years of perfect health, never been hospitalized in his life, at least not for organs or some sort of disease like that, but just fractures and burns and that kind of stuff that always happened to him as a mechanical worker. And suddenly, after my mom died, he just lost the will to live, and he was diagnosed with at least 4 or 5 different cancers. The doctors couldn't make sense of what was happening. I mean, we knew metaphysically what was happening was that my father just didn't want to live anymore. That was his right. And this shows up as a degenerative distortion, just like that, from what you call health. Cancer. I mean, I'm grateful that I could use this example because it's so beautifully depicted in my anecdote with my father, because this is how we cause dis-ease, D-I-S-ease, disease. So this is what's happening at the human level. Now, Ra says that when an entire planetary system of peoples and cultures repeatedly experiences disharmony on a great scale, war and other things like, political division and cultural xenophobia and so on, the earth under the feet of these entities shall begin to resonate with this disharmony. Sounds familiar? Well, the body reacts to the emotions. We, the humans here on planet Earth, are like the mind. Are the mind of the planet. Yes? At least the mind of third density. There is no other entity here that thinks for the planet, that produces for the planet, that creates for the planet the way we do. And so when we are in dissonance with one another, then the body of ourselves, our we being the mind, the planet being our body, starts to resonate with this disharmony. Due to the nature of the physical vehicle, this harmony shows up as a blockage of growth or an uncontrolled growth. Since the primary function of a mind-body-spirit complex's bodily complex is growth and maintenance. So now they're going back to the physical body of the human, right? It shows up as uncontrolled growth, like we said, cancer in this case, or a blockage of growth that can happen too. But so this is another thing that will probably come in handy in the future for studying the tarot and the archetypes, when they say that the primary function of a mind-body-spirit complex's bodily complex is growth and maintenance. This is the function of the physical body, the vehicle, growth and maintenance. And that is second density too. But in the case of our planet, the purpose of the planet is the maintenance of orbit and the proper location or orientation with regards to other cosmic influences. So this is the proper function or the purpose of the planet on a grander scale. Remember, this is not just isolated entities or an isolated planet or an isolated solar system, etc. This is all combined together. Everything is working in unison. So, in order to have this occurring properly, the interior of the planet is hot in our physical terms. Thus, instead of uncontrolled growth, what we experience is uncontrolled heat and its expansive consequences. So I suppose that the planet cannot grow because of the reasons that Ra gives, or not that it can't grow, but it's not its purpose. Just like the body is growth and maintenance, and in this case it's just maintenance in the way they explained it. And this, instead of this uncontrolled growth, then we experience this uncontrolled heat and its expansive consequences. Well, we know that heat expands the medium in which it is, the area, whatever it is, the volume of what it is. And so we see that as volcanic eruptions and plate tectonics and earthquakes and so on. All of this is a result of, it's not too hard to understand. I mean, we be in the mind of the planet, if you can understand that. We are the ones generating the body of the planet, and we are controlling that, and we affect it, for sure. This is why the Schumann's resonance is so popular, because we can see the effects of meditation or of war, or even not predicting, but like say one of the biggest examples of this is 9/11. I think it was minutes before it happened, there was a big spike, as if somehow everybody knew what was going to happen. It was in the collective consciousness. It was there. And so I'm sure this, if we would monitor all of this, we could see a lot of the reactions before it happens, or even after the fact. So this is just the metaphysics of our planet. So